Hello again. I guess this is going to be my video about a little bit of my childhood and my past, a little history. I'm actually chronicling this very story on my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/mysoulsstory, where I go through probably in a little bit greater detail than what I'll do here. So if you want to know a little bit more, you can just go on over there and read it. One of the things that I do write it as though I'm talking to you, though. I'm very personable. I'm not too formal. Never did care for that type of thing. But I want to give the YouTube viewers a chance to hear my story of my youth before I begin the actual series, and so you don't necessarily have to go and read 30 chapters of my life. So we'll just say that I came from a large family. My dad has had 3 wives. His first wife, he had 2 children. My mother is his second wife. He had 4 children, and his current wife has no children, but she had 3 of her own. Now, on my dad's side, my oldest brother, through his first marriage, was murdered in 1983, I believe. Him and his girlfriend were murdered while they were fishing. And then my oldest brother with my mom, with all my brothers, who would have been full-blooded brother, he died shortly after birth, so I never got to know him. And then my stepmom had a son who died in a car accident before we ever got to meet him by a couple of years. So we started out, I believe, if we were all together, would have been like 9. And so now we're down to 6 at this point. My sister, Christine, from my dad's first marriage, after, I guess it was 2001, it was the day before Thanksgiving, she actually died through some complications through a biopsy where the doctor accidentally nicked an artery or something like that. Now, she had had a child. Now, this is kind of weird. My oldest half-sister, before my dad and my stepmom were together, she was engaged to my stepmom's son, my stepbrother. This was long before any of that happened. They ended up getting married and continued their relationship. Kind of weird, I know, but bear with me. So, before my sister died, they had had a child. Her name is Keely. She's my niece. She was 4 years old when Christine died. So that's a little bit about that. David, Frida's son, who died in a car accident, and my brother Kevin, they actually share the same birthday as I do, December 7th. And interestingly, we are all artists. How weird is that? So anyways, that's a little bit of history about my family there and how it shaped up. Growing up, my older brother lived with my mother until like high school, and the rest of us lived with my dad and stepmom. I started out fairly normal, like anyone else would. I was raised in a Southern Baptist church. I started out in Sunday school every week. As far as I can remember, I remember believing in God. There was no issue there. I would always stare into the sky, waiting for Jesus to return. That was normal for me. I thought everyone did that. I later found out that's not normal. Sunday school, however, was not my thing. It was boring. I was totally uninterested in anything that had to be said. Nonetheless, me and one of my friends from that class decided we'd get baptized. For me, it was an opportunity to go swimming. That's how I thought of it. Just to get wet, be fun, something different. So we went to this Sunday school at this church for some time. Then I think it was around the age of 12 that our family found an independent Baptist church. A little more hellfire and brimstone here. They were like King James only. The pastor didn't celebrate or have Christmas trees because, they started out as a pagan tradition. The pastor didn't shop anywhere that sold cigarettes or alcohol. And this is where I learned to be scared of hell. I can remember a whole year of praying for Jesus to save me just so I didn't go to hell. And even though I've always believed in God and Jesus, I guess maybe I didn't understand it totally well. This, at the time this was happening, my brother, or a little bit before this, had been followed by a demon. He was haunted by a demon. This began in the town of Marissa, and it followed him in several other communities throughout Illinois. His friends seen it, or his friends heard it. He saw it. Our dog saw it, would bark at this doorway like every night. It scared him and his buddy out of the house in their underwear practically. All kinds of things happen. I can tell you that when in that presence, it could be 90 degrees and you would be just shivering, and it was like you were cold on the inside. However, if you've experienced it, you'll know. If you haven't, I can't really say anything to make you understand it. So that was creepy, and it was pretty scary, being in their house by yourself. And this is when he was living with my mom. When he became a Christian, it stopped following him. So he became a Christian. We started going to this independent Baptist church. It's where my brother, I believe he was baptized there. It may have been at the previous church. He kind of grew up a lot as a Christian. And he decided to join the army, so he went off and did that. And now, while he was in the army, some things happened. We weren't going to this church anymore. Me and my stepsister Lori and my younger brother Aaron decided to start attending this other church a few miles away. This was an independent fundamental Baptist church. And whoa, let me tell you, it is not like anything else you would expect. He's a hardcore. No touching between sexes. Boys and girls don't mix. 6-inch rule is what they call it. 6 inches apart at all times. Boys wear pants, girls wear dresses, no shorts, no tank tops, no swimming together, chaperone dating, King James only, all kinds of stuff. And we even did what they call soul winning, which is you would go 2 by 2 knocking on the doors, inviting people to church, and then you would end with the question, if you die tonight, do you know where your soul would spend eternity? Now, looking back, that's not maybe the right question you want to ask a total stranger when you're in their home at night. Just saying. But, hey, we did. And those who are interested, we would show them how to get saved through a prayer. Now, most people, I never saw her from again. We never really went back to visit with them. So, I don't know if it took. To me, it seems like it would take more than a few words. But, nonetheless, we had a lot of good times. I had a lot of good times. I loved visitation. We did this thing, we would get buses and we would pick up children who had no other way to get to church. And I would love to go out and visit and invite families and children to church. That was a great time. Well, my brother, while he was in the army, found a church just like ours pretty much. So when he came home, we were all going to the same church. Our fundamental beliefs were all the same. We had the same doctrine, and he was a little stricter against TV at some point in times, than we were. But he got over that real quick when there was a TV to be watched. So were fairly normal, I mean, in reality. And it was at this church where I decided to get baptized a second time, because I realized that the first time was just a sham. It didn't represent anything. So I got baptized again at this church. I never did have that experience of the Holy Spirit entering or taking over. I mean, I've always been a believer, but nothing major, and no big change. I was still a normal person. I liked movies. All of my actions really were based around how it made me feel. So I was just like everyone else. So but I did that anyways, and we went, and eventually my brother Corey and stepsister Lori moved to Alabama to go to a church school there. Same denomination and all that good stuff. In that year, I stopped going to church. The pastor had left that we grew up with there. I didn't really care for the new one. And, I just really didn't like going to church that much, I guess, enough to keep going. In church, I was one of those people that I would keep reading after the verses were taught. Because, we would read out of the Bible. I would keep reading. Mostly because I guess I was bored. And I always, there were always things that didn't make sense to me or didn't line up. But, I put that in the back of the mind and I just go on. Well, eventually, through an argument with my father, I ended up moving to Alabama with my brother and sister. Good times. It all worked out nicely. I had moments of, I was meeting people through my jobs, working in the real world, who did things that I'd always been taught that only evil, wicked people do. And these people were good people. I had this stereotypical image of anyone who drank alcohol was possessed by the devil. I was finding out one-on-one that they were not, and they were really good people. So I started associating a little bit more with these people, and one thing led to another. Someone in the church made a comment, and I was already seeing things differently, and it really bothered me. And I said, if this is what Christianity is, I don't want no part of it. And I don't need to go into the details. We'll just say that I stopped going to church. And it was silly on my behalf to let someone else's comment affect my faith of any kind. But it worked out the way that it should. I was hanging out with these people, and my brother is still very much independent fundamental Baptist and actually going to school to be a preacher. He would always accuse me of drinking and doing all this other stuff, and I wasn't really interested in it. And finally, I just got tired of him saying stuff, so I finally said, you know what, I'm not going to make a liar of him anymore. And I had a drink, and I did not catch on fire, and it tasted good. So I was like, well, all right then. So I started drinking more, and I just eventually went through that phase of partying every night. Good times, met a lot of great people, really good people. And, well, eventually the partying not as much fun as it used to be, and I really wanted to get back into church, so I got back in. Black sheep now. I think it is necessary for everyone to have those times away from a religious organization to make sure that's what they want, to see life. But, some in and out of church. My mom lived with us for a while. We moved her down. We thought we'd try to give her an opportunity to take it easy on life, single mother for so long. And she eventually moved back to Illinois, as did I. I got a little fed up with the job. I was just ready for a move. So I went back to work for my dad at the steel shop. Did that for 3 years. Never really did the church thing. Always a believer. Loved Christian music. Went to concerts all the time. Just didn't. Church, I was pretty much done with the whole organized religion. And then, hello, it's time to move to Tennessee. And this is a very, very quick overview. There's probably going to be stuff I'll have to go back to later. Tennessee is where I met my wife, and the wonderful times about that. I will save that for the next video, because that's really where a lot of my spiritual growth occurred. So rather than bore you with it all in one video, I will bore you with 2 videos. So in the next video, I'm going to talk about everything that's happened since I moved to Tennessee, and maybe get a little more in depth about things that were going on in my mind. Until then, Facebook.com/MySoulStory. You can also find me, Ryan Pauly, on Facebook. You look up Facebook.com/The Saul Approach, just like the YouTube channel. Saul Approach, www.thesaulapproach.com as well. Tons of places to see. Anyways, until the next video, I appreciate you checking in and taking a look at what we got here. I hope you come back. Things get really interesting really soon. It's going to get crazy. And thank you for taking a look-see. Namaste.